netball called a chest pass, right? And I used to get them in the face.
I just wanted to know that she respects the game of netball.
What even is netball?
Harrison, you are a freak! This is the sport evolving at its very best. Unbelievable. Can you believe it? It's all over! New Zealand have won the World Cup!
Nau mai e ki te hōtaka o te Nete Poro Kiwi. Welcome to the Kiwi Netball Show. I'm Bridget Tunnicliffe and today we're previewing the ANZ Premiership starting this Sunday when the Pulse take on the Northern Stars in Palmerston North. There are a number of burning questions ahead of the fifth instalment of the ANZ Premiership. Will Australian import Caitlin Bassett help lift the Magic off the bottom of the ladder? Can the Poles defend their title and make it a three-peat despite several changes to the side? Or will 2021 finally be the year the Mainland Tactix lift the trophy? To help me answer some of those questions are my guests, former Silver Fern and international umpire Joan Hodson and former Silver Fern Jodi Brown. Kia ora, korua.
Kia ora.
Kia ora, e hoa.
Normally I'd start with the Northern Mystics and work my way down the country, but I thought I'd mix things up and start with the Magic and just play a little archive audio that might jog your memories in a not so good way.
Away come Australia. This could well be the match. This will be the game. Look at the face of Caitlin Bassett. The world netball crown stays in Australia.
That's Caitlin Bassett breaking the hearts of New Zealand netball fans at the 2011 Netball World Cup in Singapore. Jodi, you obviously played against the Australian Diamonds during your career. What do you make of Bassett playing here?
Oh, look, I think it's a good move for her. I think the Australia League last year probably didn't help her out with that 2-point shot and almost that played her out of the game. So, look, I take my hat off to her. I think she's probably come over here to try and get her game back because I think, to be fair, if we're all honest, you know, it's dropped a little bit. She hasn't had the impact as she's had previously. So, yeah, I think she's probably come over here with the points proof.
So a very different shooting end for the Magic. The other new shooter is Chiara Semple, who played a few seasons in the UK Super League. Relative newbie Kiana Williams is the only shooter to have survived from last year's shooting circle. Jodi, how do you think they might go?
Look, I think if Magic can get the connection between Grace Carter and Bassett, which showed glimpses in Otaki at the pre-season tournament, I think if they can get that combination going down their attacking end, I think we'll start to see really good glimpses. Solid through the middle, obviously, with Sam Winders, and then at that back end, probably a little light on defence. So, look, I don't think they will be bottom. I think they will surprise a few teams here and there, but it'll just be how long they can take to settle into their lineup and maybe consistency around, you know, a solid starting seven and those seven performing week in and week out.
So, yeah, Timalisi Whakahokotau has made the move to the Magic. She joins Georgia Tong and Edina Makairea in the Magic defensive end. Joan, do you think that's a good move for Whakahokotau, or do you think she might miss having Jane Watson out in front?
Oh, definitely. We'll miss Jane Watson. I mean, you know, who wouldn't? Because she's such a quality player. However, if she is able to work in with Edina Makairea and Georgia Tong, they could have a really good defensive lineup. Outside the circle, they've got, you know, Sam Winders, who, you know, has proven for all of the mid-quarters in New Zealand that that's the way to play. You know, she's dogged, she's defensive. So if they can stop the ball before it actually gets to the circle, and I think that they could with Sam Winders there leading the mid-court, they would be a really strong force. But, you know, it is relatively new, their side, when you see how many that they've had to replace the last year's Bay of Plenty Magic. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. How did they go at Otaki? All right?
Yeah, but up and down. There actually were a couple of quarters where Bassett and Grace Kara actually went in at goal attack for a couple of quarters, and that was actually pretty awesome. Just the speed of Kara and the way they worked together. So that might be an option for Amy Jean as well. Let's move to the Northern Mystics, finished third last year. The big thing, I guess, is they've got Bailey Mears back in the shooting end. Jodi Mears and Grace Wicke in that shooting circle. Also got Saviour Tui and Filda Vui. Is it one of the competition's stronger shooting ends?
Yeah, look, I think they've got plenty of variety there, which I really, really like in terms of, being able to change their game plan and mix it maybe from quarter to quarter or game to game. So I'm really liking the variety they have and the ability to have that really tall holding shooter, but also have a really moving circle. I think the real goal has to be for those ones that are around Grace is to have the confidence to put it up. I don't think that they can go to be one-shot wonders, let's put it to Grace the whole time. And I think that'll be their challenge is to still be able to get that volume when they're partnered with her.
And they are a bit light in the midcourt, Alyssa Peta-Tuiava and Taylor Earl, the side's only specialist, really, wing attack and centre. But Joan, those two were good last year.
Oh, listen, Taylor Earl is, a bright spark. She's probably in the same, almost the same category as Maddie Gordon from the Pulse. She could be. Elizabeth Peta-Tuiava is one of the best feeders. She reminds me of Rita Whatilofa. And she's got the goods. She's just got to work on her defence. But the one in that is probably Filda Vui that I'm really looking forward to seeing this year, if she can crack it. But, yeah, whoever is able to feed Grace, and you've got Bailey Mears there, far out, they've got a really strong circle, attacking end, and that's all it is just feeding Grace Wicke.
Ioane will be really good in there as well, like Famu Ioane. I think she's going to be an asset for them, and hopefully she can stay injury-free through that, because I think she'll provide some good stability, and she's a gutsy player as well.
Yeah.
Really strong mid-court. Famu's going to be awesome, addition to the Mystics, because she's got that really strong pass into Grace. So, yeah, they're probably the team that I'm really looking forward to seeing get into the finals.
And still, they're obviously without Phoenix Karaka, who's had a baby, and Michaela Sokolic-Beatson again out, sadly, through injury. Still a strong defensive circle, though. Jodi, Suli Fitzpatrick, the captain this year. Kate Burley's made the move from the Stars, and they've brought in England veteran Ama Abwezi to the side.
Yeah, plenty of experience there, I think. And, you can't go past Suli Fitzpatrick. She's done a ton of work throughout her time with the Pulse and now with the Mystics, and she's just a pure leader. But what I love about her is she has the brains, so she not necessarily the dynamic defender like you see in Jane Watson. She knows where to put her body and where she needs to be to get the ball, and I love that about a player. Interesting enough, I do see Phoenix Karaka's name in the Biko team, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see her throughout the season at some point in time.
Yeah, I agree with you with Suli Fitzpatrick, one of the smartest players in the league. Right, to the Northern Stars, who finished fourth last year. They were really exciting to watch at the pre-season tournament in Otaki, quite exhilarating at times, the connection between Gina Crampton and Maya Wilson. Joan, do you think they might dazzle this year?
Oh, heck yeah. Gina Crampton is definitely our top wing attack at the moment, and just her service, the balls that she gives to Maya Wilson. And, I've been so impressed with Maya, her whole body shape, watching her growing up as a secondary school player and where she is now. Mate, she's just transformed her body. Her fitness is incredible, and her volume of shooting is also incredible. So, yeah, whoever works in with her will be taken on a good ride, I'd say.
Kitty Wills has got quite a stacked shooting in with Jamie Hume there, Amarangi Malasala back in the Premiership, and Silverfern Monica Faulkner up from the Magic. Jodi, Faulkner and Wilson, potential shooting combination for the Ferns. Is it a good opportunity for them to build that at franchise level?
Oh, certainly it's a great opportunity. And then when you add, like Joan said, that like Gina Crampton, who's the world's best wing attack at the moment, in that mix, feeding them, like you can see the potential there for the Silver Ferns, but also for them as the Stars as well. And I think this is a really good challenge for Monica Faulkner to have consistency throughout the season. Like with the Magic, we'd seen her have some really outstanding games, and then you'd come and she'd drop off a little bit. So her ability to, I think it's going to be a real fight between her and Jamie Hume, and maybe Kitty might look to play them strategically around that and fit them in so that they do build confidence around that. But you certainly have to compliment Maya Wilson, who's the star of the show down there, don't you?
Yeah. At the pre-season tournament, Anna Harrison back after 2 years of retirement. She was in great form. Joan, you're looking forward to watching her and how she brings out the best with of Ocean Mahi and Ali Temu.
Oh, listen, having her back, old Scarlett, into the fold is just going to be tremendous. What an amazing game that Kiz has with that team, having her in there, her experience. Ali Temu is a rising defender. Goal defence she can play. And then you've got, outside, and that's what, old Sinclair from the Magic has done in playing for New Zealand, has shown that, you don't have to be a really tall defender outside that circle. And Lisa Mather has got a really strong defensive background to be able to, match or even emulate Winders.
Sam Winders,
So
yeah, she's
that'll
really
be really good to see.
Yeah, both really nuggery around the circle edge. Any half scrap ball, they'll get it. Right, the Pulse, the two-time defending champions, but new coach, 5 changes to the side, and no Katrina Rore for the first time in 11 years, the last 10 as captain. So I've also lost Karen Berger, but looking at some of the new recruits on that D end, I can't wait to see how they go. When the Pulse signed Paris Mason last year, Netball Central Director of High Performance, Wai Tamonu, said she thought they had snapped up potentially the most promising up-and-coming circle defender in the country. And watching her during the Cadbury Series last year, under 21s, just her assertiveness on court. And this is a player who hasn't even had a season of Beko under her belt. Joan Mason is originally from Taranaki. You would have seen her on the netball courts.
Yes, and watching her play in the reps at Taranaki too, she is definitely an outstanding player. When she takes the court, that something's going to happen wherever she is. She also played for New Plymouth Girls High School, and they had a wonderful team that were really close to getting the National Secondary School title. And Mason moved over to Manukura. So, Yvette's had a lot to do in terms of her elevation into Beko and also the Pulse side. Yeah, she's very exciting. And seeing her at the pre-season tournament with Paris Lukatui, I was really impressed with both of them being such young defenders, wing defence and goal defence, and playing with Kelly Jury and being able to fit in there. So, yeah, there's nothing lost. Yes, there is with Katrina Rore. However, Paris Mason will be a very good addition for them.
Again, Wai had a hand in recruiting Fiji international Kalera Nawai. She caught her eye at the 2019 World Cup, can play both circle D positions, and we might see Kelly Jury out at goal defence a bit this year. She was good there at pre-season, got some of those front balls other goal Ds might not get because of her reach. Jodi, interesting to see what Gail Parata does with the mid-court now. Whitney Souness is back. Maddie Gordon, despite being so good at wing attack last year, will probably spend a lot more time at wing defence, but she's likely to be just as good there, right?
Oh, totally. I think, we saw her used there in her Silver Ferns debut at wing defence too. Claire Kirsten's a really handy wing defence too. And I'm not sure, obviously she's been used to centre, and we're used to seeing her at centre for a number of years now, but she's actually started her, career at wing defence. So I think that would be a good switch up too, putting Gordon into the centre and then having Kirsten there. So they've got plenty of versatility through there, and plenty of experience as well.
Shooting wise, there is a bit of a question mark over whether Amelia-Ann Ignacio will be available for round 1. Jodi, it goes without saying that it would be a huge loss for the Pulse if they are without her for part of the season.
Oh, huge loss for them, especially her accuracy is shooting, but I think she does a ton of work on the court as well. She, takes just about every second ball. She leads that centre pass. She then, rotates that circle and has that structure with Alia Dunn. So she'll be a huge loss if she is out for a number of games throughout the season. I think, you have got Tiamo Amarutibu, who has played at that level before. So she has got the brains and that there. And then you've got the Grace McLean, who I think is in the Beko team, who's a training partner. She got some time in Otaki as well. So, look, I think she will be a huge loss, and it will definitely be a weakness if they lose her.
Okay, so to the Tactix, runners-up last year, a team that many are labelling the favourites. This year, just the one change in personnel, and I think that was what served the Pulse so well the past couple of years, that consistent roster. Joan, could this be the Tactix year?
Oh, I'm really looking forward to seeing Ericana Peterson, establish herself in that team, free from injury, hopefully. And they've got really good backup with Sam and Nathan. Kimi Orapoi is playing out of his skin, so wherever she goes, whether it's wing defence or, probably at centre. Such an exciting mid-court that will be looking really good. It all depends on their shooting circle, I think. Tapai Selby-Rickett, has been just inundated with injury. And that's probably a lot to do with her exclusion from the Constellation Cup team. Arkley's, now she's got an ankle injury, so, there's a lot of pressure that's been placed on her, but it's the mid-court and also the defensive end that is so exciting with the Canterbury Tactix.
Jodi, what is the key for them, do you think, in turning runners-up result last year to a title in 2021?
I think they've got to have the belief that they can actually win, and I think we started to see that last year. And I think, the Tactix, a little bit like the Pulse, they've always been down the bottom of the table and, struggled to recruit and all that. Finally, I think the work in terms of recruitment and the years of gelling have paid off in terms of, they've had the core of that group together for a long time. Now I think they just need to believe that they can actually do it and have some confidence to do it. And when the pressure comes on, continue that confidence, because I feel like when the pressure comes on, some of them tend to go back into their shells, go back into their comfort zone, and start to play a little bit more individual rather than to their strength, which is a team game. So that belief and that ability to know that they can close out games and be, a competition leader is going to be really important for them this year.
And how important is the shooting combination between Ellie Bird and Tapai Selby-Rickett to the side's success?
Oh, it's going to be huge. I think, there is a gap if you take Tapai Selby-Rickett out, like Joan says. She's been dogged by injury, and we're probably not going to see her for this first game in terms of the injury she picked up in Otaki. So I think there's a little bit of a gap there. I think the combination between Ellie Bird and Tapai has been getting stronger. I think Ellie Bird's come into her own a little bit. I'd love to see her be more stronger, more dominating, and more saying, hey, give me the ball and I'll shoot it, that confidence. But I do think that's the key to them being able to get the supply to them, but also them converting, because their percentages haven't been as high as what other teams have been in the past.
Finally, the Steel, one of those teams that will look quite different this year. Shooting-wise, the Steel have had quite a bit of misfortune recently. At the end of 2019, they lost to Tapai Selby-Rickett and South African import Linese Potgieter. Big hole there, and they were rebuilding that shooting last year. Then they lost Georgia Heffernan and Jen O'Connell to ACL injuries. Jodi, Rainga Bloxham must be holding out a lot of hope that English import George Fisher and Tiana Maturo can establish a strong shooting partnership.
Yeah, huge hope, I think. And I think that's probably working in their favour, because we haven't seen George Fisher out on court, in New Zealand yet. So I guess that's something of a little bit of unknown until we see them play on the weekend. But I really feel like the Steel, and, I hate using that word, are in that rebuilding phase. I think, they've lost a whole lot of experience, a whole lot of depth. But they've got some really exciting new talent in there. But I feel like they're going to need 1 or 2 years to be able to keep them together, to gel, like the Magic, I think they might surprise a few teams here and there. Do I think they're going to be at the top? No, not this year. But I think if they can keep that core of them together and develop that team over the next few years, then you might see the fruits of that labour, in a few years' time.
Jodi, Tiana Maturo joined the Pulse in 2017 as a 16-year-old, and I remember words like prodigy was used. Many people, including myself, I honestly thought it was just a matter of time before she would make the Silver Ferns. Do you think it just shows that players obviously develop at different stages? Some might not get their first ANZ contract until they're 23. Others, like Maturo, can enjoy exponential growth at a very young age and then go through a flatter growth period, and that actually must be quite hard to deal with.
Yeah, I think so. And you've got to think, like you say, she was there at 16. There's a whole lot of pressure going on her. She came on. She had, a couple of breakout seasons where she was really dominant. She came in, she was the talk of the town, so to speak. People started to figure her out. People started to kind of get on her game. And then it's that next step for her to be able to step up and come to the plate and produce something new and continue to be dominant. And for, a 16, 17, 18-year-old, that's really high pressure to be put under. And given, obviously, her prodigy, her family history as well. Again, you add that on top of her, a little bit like when Bianca Van Dijk, was playing netball, and the amount of pressure on her because her mum was Irene Van Dijk. So to be fair to the kid, I think she's been very brave and bold and been moving out of, a championship team, but she's done it. She knows that she needs to do it for her growth. And I'm really excited to see her this year and see what she can do. Can she be a leader, but also can she look after her own game, and can she, give us some really solid games week in and week out.
Joan, obviously losing Jenna Crampton is a huge loss, so Shannon Saunders will be the rock in the mid-court, but an opportunity for Kate Heffernan and Renee Savaya-Inea to take their game to the next level?
I'm really looking forward to seeing how Renee features, because, both her and Tiana moving from a, top winning team into this. I reckon that Tiana's up for this. I reckon that her and George Fisher will be outstanding this year. Renee, where she plays, whether it's centre or wing defence, will also add to the, really good mid-court that they could be. And Kate Heffernan is amazing at wing defence. So I think that they've got a really strong defence mid-court going. Like the defence of, which is still happening, which is what Jodi was talking about, with Tanisha Fafita and the two of those guys, if they get it right this year with Kate Heffernan out the circle, whoever plays centre with Shannon Saunders, they're going to be a really strong defensive unit if they get it right. But yeah, I totally agree with Jodi in terms of the rebuilding. But I think that you'll be really surprised with Tiana Maturo. She'll step up. Her and George Fisher could be, our outstanding shooters of the tournament. So it'll be really good to see.
Okay, I asked you to give me 3 players you're most intrigued to see how they will perform this season. Jodi, who are you frothing about?
There's so many to choose on. When you asked me that question, I was going through it, going, oh yeah, that one. Oh no, this one. But I've managed to kind of get 3. My 3 are Caitlin Bassett, Anna Harrison, and Tiana Maturo. I'm really interested to see how Caitlin Bassett comes over here and stamps her authority. I'm keen to see how she fits into the New Zealand style of play. I'm keen to see if she can kind of have a bit of a breakout and I guess go back to the old Caitlin Bassett that we've known, that can be so dominating, that can, wreck Kiwi hearts in terms of scoring those late goals. And I would really love to get in there and just teach her how to hold and get in there. But I'm really looking forward to see how her impact in this league is going to go. You can't go past Anna Harrison. I think she's going to be a real asset for the Stars, and I think that the Stars are going to be there at the end of the competition. I think they showed some really good potential. But her, I guess her experience, her knowledge, I think she's almost like an assistant coach on the court. I guess her theatrics I'm looking forward to, because we don't have anyone quite like Scarlett in there. I'm pretty sure the umpires are probably looking forward to her as well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the impact that she's going to make on her return. And then, like Joe mentioned, I think Tiana Mature is going to be huge for me. I think she's been brave. Like I said, she's been bold. She's come out of a championship winning team. She's come out here to get consistent court time. But I also know when you're in a potentially, losing week in and week out sometimes, that can be really, really hard. So I think it'll be really a good nettle for her to kind of experience that, but still be able to look after her own game, still be able to be consistent and still be dominating down there, which I believe she can do. But I'm really looking forward to seeing her do that.
Joan, who are your three?
Oh my gosh, I agree with Jodi. I love all of those players. And same with me, Jodi, looking at the product of what ANZ Premiership is looking at. Probably for me, it's not the ones that, have got a lot of media coverage, really. For me, I'd really like to see Grace Nweke and how she proves herself this year in terms of the goal shooters that we have. I mean, she's got the best in the world in terms of goal shooters from Australia to look at. She's also got Maya Wilson, who is also, a colleague of hers, and that'll be interesting to see. So she's my one from the Mystics. I've also looked at coaches too. I'm really, really intrigued with Kiz Wills and seeing how she, looks at with her team. Scarlett, you can't go past, seeing what she brings to the whole competition is going to be incredible for exactly the same reasons that Jodi was talking about. I really am keen to see how Paris Mason fares this year, because she has got so much talent, skill, vitality, everything that you want in an up-and-coming player. So she'll be interesting to watch. And, did I say Mature? That's who I'm really keen to see, in terms of stepping up, and I know that she's up for it. So did I have 3 or 4?
We'll give you 4. You drive a hard bargain.